Horizon Gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Are Hippos OP by the channel TierZoo. I did the elephant video last time and it was surprising to me. I knew kind of they were like tank, elephants are really strong, they can flip over big trucks and things. So I knew, they are going to be strong enough, but they were surprisingly, strong. They're surprisingly resilient. Attacks like tigers and things, they get struck off at some point. So, somebody said react to hippos, and yeah, hippo is kind of close to that, isn't it? Hippos are big, they're tanky. I know about something hippo because everybody, when you're a kid, why wouldn't you know about it? So, hippo basically runs about, on land 40-50 kilometers per hour easily. So basically people think when they see hippos they can just run away because it's so fat and stubby, can't come after you. It will probably be faster than you, so you're screwed either way. It has to resurface if it's in the water every few minutes, and the best thing about that is they don't have to put effort into it. It's just automatic, just like how we breathe. They don't think about even when they sleep in the water, they automatically come up every 2 to 5 minutes and they go back down again. So that is ridiculous to see automation system like that from biological perspective. So that is great. Hippos are also one of the aggressive ones, but I don't know how dangerous hippos are compared to the others. So I think they should be fine, but I'm pretty sure big predators could fuck the hippos up. I don't know, but we'll see. I've looked at quite a few TierZoo videos already, so if you haven't seen them, check out the link in the description with all my videos. It's there. Check out the cards for all the playlists like Internet Historian, SCP, let me know, things like that. Yeah, let's watch this one.
This episode is sponsored by Dashlane.
That was ridiculous.
Africa, the game's hardcore server. On top of the potentially lethal heat and disease debuffs, many of the most powerful builds in the game are playable only on the Africa server. Everyone knows the big names. Elephants are the biggest, cheetahs are the fastest, cobras are the most venomous, etc. However, one of the builds that frequently gets overlooked is the hippopotamus. Even though none of their stats are the best in a single category, there are things that they do better than anything else. So today I'm going to give an overview of the hippopotamus's stats and abilities, talk about its good and bad matchups, and where I'd rate it in the overall tier list. I've already done one video that sort of touches on all these things, but since it was one of the first videos I ever made, it's pretty lacking in quality. So
what was that hole up there? Damn, okay, hi. So, I saw a video about alligators, crocodiles, how their bite power is so strong they could, literally punch holes into the cars if they want with their teeth. Looks like hippos' mouths are big, and with that kind of teeth, are their bite even more stronger than crocodiles or something? Because that would be ridiculous.
It's pretty lacking in quality, so hopefully this guide will do a better job doing the topic justice. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. Hippos are the premier tank build of the African aquatic meta. Their success comes from a combination of phenomenal stats and from speccing into abilities that allow for some pretty ingenious exploitation of the game's water physics, which I'll get into in a bit. But first, their stats. So you probably noticed that the Hippo stats are, in a word, phenomenal.
Average intelligence, good enough power. Claw power, obviously. Defense is also good enough. Mobility, this is the most surprising thing about hippo. When I learned they could run 50 kilometers per hour on the land, I'm like, what the fuck? Even in the water, there was a video about, a giant hippo was chasing a boat, and it was literally keeping up, was chasing the boat. So in the water, they are fast too. High HP, obviously, they are fat. Stealth, yeah, maybe they can go inside the water and the stealthy that way, sure.
They have one of the highest HP levels of any land build, second only to the elephant. Normally, builds with one unusually high base stat tend to have major shortcomings in other areas, but the hippo simply doesn't. While its intelligence is only average, all the rest of their stats far outclass most other African builds. They have great damage, high defense, and even have great stealth for a build in such a high weight class. But perhaps the most surprising is their mobility level, which relates to how their abilities let them engage in physics engine exploits like I mentioned earlier. So in addition to having relatively high run speed on land, hippos are also unbelievably mobile in the water. Now, normally when designing your character to be fast in the water, you spec into traits like, water mobility. Things like a streamlined body, fins, flukes, webbed feet, all these things strictly buff water speed, and usually are the go-to for players trying to take their character to new depths in the aquatic meta. The hippo player base decided to do exactly none of that, instead dumping most of their evolution points into pure bulk and muscle. As a result, hippos are so dense that, unlike most animals, they do not float. This lets them be one of the only builds that can actually use the run movement option underwater with any success.
Look at that!
So yeah, hippos,
I'm pretty sure that there must be some hippos that are so mastered that we could see, if we take a video, we could see literally them running below the, water below on the ground, like they're running on the ground. This is so awesome, man. I didn't know that hippos can basically run like that.
Despite not actually being able to swim, have one of the best aquatic movement options in the game, and they didn't even have to spend any evolution points on aquatic mobility to do so. So, hippos have 4 signature abilities, the first being their water dash ability that I just explained. Their second ability is their 2-inch thick skin. This ability is the reason behind their high defense level, and it grants them some of the best resistances in the game, particularly to the common threats in the African server. It grants them near total immunity to slash and bite type damage,
Look at that!
since claws
Hordes
and
of
teeth
lions
simply are too short to pierce their skin. This lets them shrug off the vast majority of standard attacks in the African meta, and is also crucial for letting them survive attacks even from groups of enemies, which is normally the answer to
all of them coming behind, biting him like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I'm just gonna walk.
defeating a high HP target.
Awesome.
Defending from physical attacks is important, but it's just as critical to make sure your elemental resistances are adequate too. Because hippos have spec'd into the hairless trait in order to minimize mobility debuffs in the water, they're highly vulnerable to solar damage. In order to mitigate this issue, hippos have spec'd into sweat that grants them UV resistance and, as an added bonus, grants them resistance to infection, another hugely beneficial trait to have when you spend most.
I remember this. I read about it somewhere that they sweat red. So people thought, hippos were sweating blood, but no, that's just a mixture of things that just protects you from the sun rays and things like that.
Time in unclean water, potentially with open wounds. The only downside is that while active, it gives the hippo players a reddish tint, temporarily lowering their stealth level. Their last special trait is their tusks. Hippos haven't spec'd into carnivory or even omnivory. They're strictly herbivorous and can't gain any XP from meat. However, regardless of this fact, they have one of the most damaging bites in the game.
What the fuck?
On top of the sheer force of the bite itself, which is around a ton by the way, their tusks deal massive damage to anything they puncture. But on top of the hippo's damage potential, their tusks offer another important benefit, intimidation. So the most effective intimidation techniques are the ones that can be quickly switched on and off. A coral snake's colors are always bright, and a spider is always creepy, but hippos aren't.
Witch monkey or something, damn. So yeah, hippos just eat grass and things, they don't eat meat, and they're still way too aggressive. That feels weird. They're just defensive, I guess. They know they're strong, so yeah, why wouldn't they be?
Always terrifying. In fact, most of the time they appear non-threatening, yet in an instant they can crank up the intimidation to 100 just by opening their mouths. A hippo player with intimidation active is one of the most intimidating things in the entire game, easily being able to scare off even some of the bulkiest builds like rhinos. Okay, so
rhinos are one of the tankiest animals that is everybody know of. And rhino, elephant fucked up rhino in the last video. In here, Hippos just like, get the hell out of it. Rhino ran away. This is awesome.
So for matchups, hippos sport one of the most comfortable matchup spreads possible. Because they're highly resistant to bite and slash attacks, most of the relevant predator matchups, such as crocodiles, lions, hyenas, and painted dogs, are highly favorable for the hippo. On top of this, the hippo's own attacks can one-shot any of those predators. As for bad matchups,
so stronger than crocodiles,
that focus
obviously.
on stab-type weaponry can definitely give a hippo a hard time. In particular, elephants and rhinos both have long enough horns or tusks to pierce the hippo's thick skin and deal critical damage.
Elephant be like, you're in the different league, man. Get out of here. I'll throw you off. I'm pretty sure elephant is strong enough to just literally lift the hippo up and throw the hippo away. I'm pretty sure.
If they're foolish enough to challenge them. Fortunately, the rhino's low intelligence makes it highly susceptible to intimidate abilities, so that matchup is by no means unwinnable. Elephants, though, they'll walk straight through a group of hippo players, knowing none of them will challenge it.
Get out of here, you
ironically,
vagrants.
one of the worst matchups for a hippo is another hippo, since a hippo's tusks do have the potential to pierce their defenses.
Oh, it's not fitting, man.
The last matchup to discuss for them is how they fare against humans, and in this regard, they've got one of the best records of all. Obviously, they still lose to the highly advanced equipment that humans have recently unlocked, but aside from that, humans don't have any way to combat them. As a result, hippos have the...
Look, if we just gonna talk about physical attacks, yeah, humans, if they don't do coordinate attacks and they're just one-on-one or something, there are lots of animals that will fuck up any human. But yeah, that's not the point. I mean, they have humans are smart. They have horde mentality. They have spears that they could kill things with. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, in today's time, nothing. Even the million hippos is nothing in front of 10 humans because they could just have machine gun.
Highest KD ratio versus humans in the entire game. Even special high-level mounts like boats and trucks can be taken down by a hippo. So where do hippos belong on the tier list?
What if that hippo just hit the bonnet at the right angle and the airbag would have gone off? That would be so epic.
Well, considering how they're basically unstoppable tanks that manage to spec into an excellent semi-aquatic playstyle without sacrificing any land-based abilities to do so, it's tough to argue that they're anything but S tier. They easily control any rivers or lakes that they're in, being even more dominant than crocodiles. In fact, while currently the vast majority of the hippo player base is in the African server, a few of them have recently broken into the South American meta. Now, hippos have one of the lower spawn rates in the game, so it'll be a while before we can really assess their viability in servers outside of Africa. But I would bet that
yes, I saw that in the Grand Tour episode, I think. They went to where? Was it Grand Tour? I don't know. They went to Argentina or something. Nah, not Argentina. I don't know, somewhere in South America, right? I'm pretty sure. There was a big special where they say, there was no hippos here, but somebody brought hippo here, and hippos been breeding, and they are in some kind of a lake somewhere. Lots of them. So yeah.
Eventually, hippos will be one of the most dominant builds in South America too, especially since they have great matchups against the top tiers there too, like the Cayman and the Jaguar. The Piranha player base might give them a hard time though, so we'll have to wait and see. Their thick hide offers a lot of protection, but with hundreds of bites chipping it away, even the hippo might struggle. Protecting your hit points is critical to survival in the current meta, but perhaps equally important is protecting your passwords, and that's where today's sponsor Dashlane comes in. Dashlane is what I personally use to protect my passwords and keep my...
Well, that was hippo. Yeah, I think I knew kind of hippo was strong, but they're really strong, man. They could go toe-to-toe with anything besides elephant, obviously, and knowing that they can go into water and land, and they are aggressive, they might be one of the most dangerous thing in Africa, I guess. So yeah, that was great. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out other reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards for all the playlists like Salmonella, SCP, Internet Historian, Unbiased History by Doherty, things like that. And yeah, if you like my reactions, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos I normally react. Because around this time I usually go between TierZoo or maybe Vsauce or something like that. So the videos that get like more likes, I'm gonna react to that channel more, I guess. So yeah, I'll see you next time.